Do you know the signs of teenage depression? That's our topic today, a subject that's not only prevalent but also vital to understand. It's not an overstatement to say that teenage depression is a widespread issue. In fact, studies indicate that about 1 in 5 teenagers experience depression before they reach adulthood. That's a staggering 20% of our younger population wrestling with a darkness that can often go unnoticed or misunderstood. Teen depression is a serious mental health problem that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest in activities. It affects how your teenager thinks, feels, and behaves, and it can cause emotional, functional, and physical problems. So it's critical that we don't dismiss these feelings as merely teenage mood swings or growing pains. Now, you might be wondering, why is it so important to recognize these signs early? Well, the simple answer is early recognition leads to early intervention. And early intervention can mean the difference between a temporary challenge and a lifelong struggle. It can be the distinction between a teenager who feels lost and one who finds the support they need to navigate this complex stage of life. Depression is not simply a phase or a mood swing. It's a real, tangible issue that demands our attention. It's a silent cry for help that we must learn to hear. Recognizing the signs of teenage depression can be the first step towards understanding, supporting, and ultimately helping our teenagers navigate their way through these turbulent years. It's also important to remember that depression does not discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of their background, achievements, or circumstances. So it's essential to stay vigilant, to stay informed, and to stay open to the possibility that the teenager in your life may be dealing with more than just the typical trials of adolescence. So let's dive in, let's learn, and let's equip ourselves with the knowledge necessary to spot these signs. After all, understanding these signs can make a world of difference in a teenager's life. The first sign of teenage depression we're going to discuss is changes in sleep patterns. Now, we all know that sleep is absolutely vital for our overall health and well-being, and this is particularly true for teenagers. Their growing bodies and minds require adequate rest to function optimally. Yet when depression enters the picture, it can flip the switch on these normal sleep patterns. One of the ways it does this is by causing teens to sleep far more than usual. You might observe that your teen is constantly tired, napping throughout the day, or sleeping in late on a regular basis. It's like their bed has become a refuge, a place to escape from the world and its pressures. On the flip side, depression can also lead to insomnia, a condition where a person has difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. Your teenager might be up at odd hours of the night, or you may notice that they're frequently tired during the day. This lack of sleep can lead to a host of other issues, including poor concentration, irritability, and a decreased interest in activities they once enjoyed. Now, it's important to understand that changes in sleep habits don't automatically signal depression. Teenagers are notorious for their irregular sleep patterns, thanks to a combination of biological factors and lifestyle choices. But when these changes are consistent, drastic, and accompanied by other signs of depression, it's time to pay attention. Depression is a serious illness that affects both the mind and body, and it can be particularly devastating for teenagers who are still trying to navigate their way through the world. It's not just about feeling sad or low, it's a complex condition that affects every aspect of a person's life, including their sleep. If you notice drastic changes in your teen's sleep patterns, it may be time to seek professional help. Remember, depression is treatable, and with the right intervention, your teenager can get back on track to a healthier, happier life. The second sign of teenage depression is a loss of interest in activities they once enjoyed. Imagine that a teen who used to love playing basketball or painting suddenly has no desire to do so. This isn't just a case of boredom or outgrowing a hobby. It could be a sign of something more serious. Depression can sap a person's motivation and enjoyment, causing them to lose interest not just in one activity but in many or even all of their usual pastimes. This could extend to social activities too. A teenager who, out of the blue, doesn't want to hang out with friends or participate in family events is displaying a significant change. Remember, it's crucial to recognize these signs and take appropriate action. A sudden disinterest in activities is not just typical teenage behavior, it could be a sign of depression. The third sign of teenage depression is declining academic performance. Depression has a way of clouding our minds, making it difficult to focus or maintain interest in tasks that once seemed easy or enjoyable. For teenagers, this often translates to a noticeable drop in academic performance. Depression could cause them to struggle with concentrating on their schoolwork, leading to lower grades. They may start missing assignments, or their test scores might take a hit. It's not that they're suddenly less intelligent or capable. Their mental health is simply erecting barriers that make learning and retaining information more challenging. The long-term effects of this academic decline can be significant. It can impact their self-esteem, their college prospects, and even their career opportunities down the line. It's crucial to remember that this isn't just a phase or a typical teenage rebellion. If you notice a sudden drop in grades or a lack of interest in school, it may be more than just teenage rebellion. The fourth sign of teenage depression is changes in eating habits. Picture this. One day, your teenager's appetite is insatiable. They're eating everything in sight. The next day, they're pushing their food around the plate, barely taking a bite. These drastic shifts in eating habits can be more than just teenage mood swings or growth spurts. They can be a sign of an underlying issue, like depression. Depression can manifest in many ways, and one of the most common is through changes in eating habits. Some teens might find comfort in food, eating more than usual as a way to cope with their feelings. This is called emotional eating, and it can lead to rapid weight gain. Others, however, might experience a loss of appetite. They might skip meals, eat less than they used to, or even forget to eat entirely, which could result in weight loss. But why does this happen? Well, depression can mess with the body's hunger signals. It can make the body think it needs more food for energy, or make it forget about food altogether. It's like the brain's communication with the stomach gets scrambled. And here's the thing, these physical changes can further impact a teen's mental health. Gaining or losing weight might make them feel self-conscious or unhappy with their appearance. These negative feelings about their body can add to the depression, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. It's important to note that changes in eating habits don't always indicate depression. They could be due to other factors like stress, illness, or changes in routine. But if these changes are persistent and accompanied by other signs of depression, it's essential to take them seriously. So, if you notice a significant shift in your teen's eating habits, don't brush it off as a phase. It might be their way of communicating that they're struggling. Reach out, ask questions, and show your support. And remember, professional help is always available. Changes in eating habits are a clear sign that something may be wrong. The fifth sign of teenage depression is feelings of worthlessness or guilt. In the labyrinth of adolescence, it's not uncommon to stumble upon self-doubt and guilt. However, when these feelings persist and intensify, they may be indicative of a more serious issue: depression. Teenagers grappling with depression often grapple with a harsh inner critic that relentlessly echoes sentiments of worthlessness and guilt. These feelings can manifest in a myriad of ways. Some teens might feel undeserving of love, happiness, or success, believing they are fundamentally flawed or inadequate. Others might be plagued by guilt over perceived failures or mistakes, even minor ones, and find it hard to forgive themselves. They might feel responsible for things beyond their control and shoulder burdens that aren't theirs to bear. What's concerning is that these feelings aren't fleeting emotions. They're persistent and pervasive, clouding their worldview and seeping into their sense of self. This harsh self-scrutiny can be incredibly damaging, eroding their self-esteem and perpetuating the cycle of depression. It's important to understand that these feelings of worthlessness and guilt are not reflections of reality. They are distorted perceptions fueled by depression. They're like a pair of tinted glasses that colors everything in shades of inadequacy and regret. Depression has a way of convincing its victims that their negative feelings are incontrovertible facts. It whispers lies into their ears, telling them they're not good enough, not smart enough, not anything enough. But these are just that, lies. And recognizing them as such is the first step towards combating them. If your teen frequently expresses feelings of worthlessness or guilt, it's crucial to not dismiss these as just teen angst. These could be cries for help, signs of a deeper struggle with depression. It's important to approach these situations with empathy and understanding, providing reassurance and support. Professional help, such as therapy or counseling, can be invaluable in helping teens navigate these feelings and break the cycle of depression. If your teen frequently expresses feelings of worthlessness or guilt, this could be a sign of depression. These are just 5 signs of teenage depression, but there may be others. As we wind down this journey of understanding, let's take a moment to recap what we have discussed. The first sign we talked about was changes in sleep patterns. Remember, teenagers may sleep a lot more than usual or may have trouble sleeping at all. This isn't just about teens loving their beds or being night owls. It's a significant shift in their usual habits that may indicate something deeper. Then, we touched on the loss of interest in activities. This sign is particularly subtle as it's quite normal for teenagers to outgrow certain hobbies. However, if they're losing interest in things they once loved, without replacing them with new interests, it could be a cause for concern. We also discussed declining academic performance. While a single bad grade isn't necessarily a red flag, a sudden and sustained drop in grades might be a sign of underlying distress. It's important to remember that this isn't about pushing for perfection but rather recognizing when there's a drastic change from their norm. We highlighted changes in eating habits too. These changes can swing either way, eating too much or too little. Again, it's not about policing their diet but noticing unusual shifts in their eating behavior. Lastly, we delved into feelings of worthlessness or guilt. This sign is perhaps the most heartbreaking, as it can be harder to spot unless they open up about it. It's crucial to create a safe space for teens to express their feelings without fear of judgment. Recognizing these signs early can help teenagers get the help they need. It's essential to approach the topic with sensitivity and empathy. Remember, these signs are not a definitive diagnosis of depression, but they can certainly indicate that something is amiss. Remember, depression is a serious condition that requires professional help. If you recognize these signs in your teen, don't hesitate to seek help. The path to healing begins with understanding, and by taking the time to learn about these signs, you've already taken the first step towards that understanding.